Welcome to episode 12, George Soros, Part 1, From Refugee to the Richest Man in Wall Street.
Every bubble has a trend in reality that really is happening, and then a misconception or misinterpretation of that trend. And the trend that has been happening is the ever-increasing use of credit and leverage.
This is the outline of episode 12. It's divided into two parts. Part 1, the 4 reasons why we study George Soros. Part 2 is a brief biography of George Soros. Reason number 1, he's the richest man in Wall Street. There are 200,000 people working in Wall Street, and George Soros is the best as far as making money. Reason number 2, he was the best trader in Wall Street from 1969 to 1999. During this period, he averaged almost 30% return a year. Only one other money manager can claim to have such an excellent record, and that is Warren Buffett. Reason number 3, philanthropy. George Soros have donated more than $11 billion to charity. Only Bill Gates had donated more money than George Soros. Reason number 4, George Soros has time for everything. He's an excellent skier and a tennis player. He's also a famous womanizer, having married 3 times. He has also spent a lot of time doing charity in Eastern Europe, the Hungarian Years. George Soros was born in 1930 in Budapest, Hungary. His father is a well-to-do lawyer in Budapest who once survived World War I and the Russian Revolution. His father forged papers so he could survive Nazi's occupation by disguising as Christians. In 1947, at age 17, he emigrated to the United Kingdom as refugee. The England Years, 1947 to 1956.
After the war, Soros left Hungary and went to England to the London School of Economics. There he discovered the works of philosopher Karl Popper. Soros was deeply influenced by Popper's views on the nature of science.
So I came to a conclusion that basically all our views of the world are somehow flawed or distorted. And then I concentrate on the importance of this distortion in shaping events.
Soros took Popper's ideas and applied them to the financial markets.
The early Wall Street years. George Soros worked for a number of Wall Street firms, doing interest arbitrage between New York and Europe. In 1973, George Soros and Jim Rogers started the Quantum Fund. Jim Rogers was the analyst, George Soros was the salesman. The two started with $6 million. At the end of 12 years, Jim Rogers left after a lot of quarrels with George Soros.
Jim Rogers used to work for me, and he was in fact a wonderful security analyst. He worked tremendously fast. He did the work of 8 people. So we had a very successful partnership, but he did not want another 7 people working next to him. So we had to part company. And since then, I don't think he has been such a great investor.
George Soros and Stanley Druckenmiller complemented each other perfectly. Stan was 25 years younger than George Soros, but Soros was very flexible. He let Stanley run 2 jobs. Stanley was running his Soros fund and also his own Druekenmiller fund at the same time.
They call it Black Wednesday, the day that currency speculators broke the Bank of England. The bank and British taxpayers lost £6 billion.
It's really a once in a decade, and that's when he is George Soros. That's when he just says, you can't have enough of this. And if there's one thing I've learned from him is that when you're right and you know something, you really feel it, you can't have enough. And the biggest mistake, if I had to sum up his investment philosophy in one sentence, it's that it's not whether you're right or wrong, you just have to have the max on when you're right, and that's his unique innate ability.
The Open Foundation Years, 1990s, How to Save Eastern Europe. George Soros also became a writer, a philosopher, and a philanthropist.
Reality is extremely complex, infinitely complex. We all face life with an imperfect understanding. Anybody who claims perfect knowledge is basically mistaken. Communism and Nazism were ideologies of this kind.
In 2013, George Soros was again the king of Wall Street. He earned $4 billion by shorting the Japanese yen.
83-year-old billionaire George Soros has married for the third time in a small ceremony at his Bedford, New York estate. New wife of the famous philanthropist and active supporter of liberal political causes is the 42-year-old healthcare and education consultant Tomiko Bolton, who he met at a dinner party in 2008.
What have I learned today? George Soros is an extremely complex thinker. He called himself a failed philosopher because his first interest was philosophy, his second interest was making money. He also sees the financial world as chaos and distortions. Whether you like it or not, George Soros offers a whole different way of looking at the world. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and leave your comments and questions below. I will do part 2, The Trading Secrets of George Soros, soon. Wishing everyone peace and prosperity.